Charles Scribner, Sons published The Great Gatsby on April 10, 1925. Fitzgerald cabled Perkins the day after publication to monitor reviews. Any news? Sales situation doubtful. But excellent reviews. Read a telegram from Perkins on April 20. Fitzgerald responded on April 24, saying the cable dispirited him, closing the letter with, "Yours in Great Depression." Fitzgerald soon received letters from contemporaries Willa Cather, Edith Wharton, and poet T.S. Eliot praising the novel. Although gratified by such correspondence, Fitzgerald sought public acclaim from professional critics. The Great Gatsby received generally favorable reviews from literary critics of the day. Edwin Clark of the New York Times felt the novel was a mystical and glamorous tale of the Jazz Age. Similarly, Lillian C. Ford of the Los Angeles Times hailed the novel as a revelatory work of art that leaves the reader in a mood of chastened wonder. The New York Post described Fitzgerald's prose style as scintillating and genuinely brilliant. The New York Herald-Tribune was less impressed, referring to The Great Gatsby as a literary lemon meringue that nonetheless contains some of the nicest little touches of contemporary observation you could imagine. So light, so delicate, so sharp. In the Chicago Daily Tribune, H.L. Mencken judged the work's plot to be highly improbable, although he praised the writing as elegant and the careful and brilliant finish. Several reviewers felt the novel left much to be desired following Fitzgerald's previous works and criticized him accordingly. Harvey Eagleton of the Dallas Morning News predicted that the novel signaled the end of Fitzgerald's artistic success. Ralph Coughlin of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch dismissed the work as an inconsequential performance by a once promising author who had grown bored and cynical. Ruth Snyder of New York Evening World lambasted the book's style as painfully forced and declared the editors of her newspaper were quite convinced after reading The Great Gatsby that Mr. Fitzgerald is not one of the great American writers of today. John McClure of the Times-Picayune insisted the plot was implausible and the book itself seemed raw in its construction. After reading these reviews, Fitzgerald believed that many critics misunderstood the novel. He despaired that, of all the reviews, even the most enthusiastic, not one had the slightest idea what the book was about. In particular, Fitzgerald resented criticisms of the novel's plot as implausible since he had never intended for the story to be realistic. Instead, he crafted the work to be a romanticized depiction that was largely scenic and symbolic. According to his friend John Peel Bishop, Fitzgerald further resented the fact that critics failed to perceive the many parallels between the author's life and the character of Jay Gatsby. In particular, that both created a mythical version of themselves and attempted to live up to this legend. Dispirited by critics failing to understand the novel, Fitzgerald remained hopeful that the novel would at least be a commercial success, perhaps selling as many as 75,000 copies. To Fitzgerald's great disappointment, Gatsby was a commercial failure in comparison with his previous efforts. This Side of Paradise, 1920, and The Beautiful and Damned, 1922. By October, the book had sold fewer than 20,000 copies. Although the novel went through 2 initial printings, many copies remained unsold years later. Fitzgerald attributed the poor sales to the fact that women tended to be the primary audience for novels during this time, and Gatsby did not contain an admirable female character. According to his ledger, he earned only $2,000 from the book. Although Owen Davis' 1926 stage adaptation and the Paramount-issued silent film version brought in money for the author, Fitzgerald lamented that the novel fell far short of the success he had hoped for and would not bring him recognition as a serious novelist in the public eye. With the onset of the Great Depression, The Great Gatsby was regarded as little more than a nostalgic period piece. By the time Fitzgerald died in 1940, the novel had fallen into near obscurity.